Hello and welcome to I Shot Deadeye build guide. Now this is a pure mapper build, which means that boss damage is slightly lower, but the map damage is quite substantial. It can do various content from Legion, June, Alva, Blight, Breach, whichever content you have a lot of monsters of, especially in tight areas, this build can do phenomenally well. This build can also clear maps like Silo, Frozen Cabins and such that have like walls pretty well because we have Ricochet, which I will explain in a little bit. But overall, this build's difficulty to build is very low. Survivability is decent. You will still need to chase away, basically, sometimes monsters to actually get the leech going. And sometimes you will have to run away to not get one-tapped, as with every archer build that is usually like cheaper budget. This build has some pain points, which is a weapon, but that's not too difficult to overcome. And it has some very easy points, which is just like leveling, and you just need one simple cheap jewel to actually get this build rolling. But without further ado, let's go into POB and let's explain how it goes with leveling. As always, my POB is included in the video description, although this does say needs work. I forgot to actually rename this to Zero to Hero build guide. So let's start it off. You can start I Shot easily in Act 1. You immediately can get it from the first quest when you kill Hillock. And you pick it up from Tarly as the gem. When it comes to other gems, Volley and Mirage Archer come from next set of quests, which is easy, and Precision comes after defeating Brutus. Dash comes when you get to, like, after Mudflats, the area, and you're basically golden in Act 1. Throughout the acts, you will see that I've started adding gems as far as we go, and that is just a standard thing. In Act 3, in Library Map, you will encounter Siosa, where you can buy the rest of the gems that you need from that point onwards, basically. And nothing really changes in Act 4 and 5 too much, other than you can pick one aura. You can, in Act 5, pick one aura, either Grace or Purity of Elements, because we can't fit anything else. And if you pick Grace, that one gives us Evasion, and if you pick Purity of Elements, that one gives us Ailment Immunity. Now, both are valuable. Pick whichever one you like. If you like lack resistances and you get frozen and such all the time, pick Purity of Elements. But if you don't lack that one, but if you just want to avoid melee as much as possible or damage from melee as much as possible, then you would pick Grace. In Acts 6 to 10, you are working towards the final gem setup. Now, the reason why I put all of them in here like this is it's kind of, well, a little bit difficult to figure out what somebody will have. Like, will you have more int and then therefore more mana? Will you have a less and such? This basically just gives you the freedom of choice to build it up however you want. And you know, okay, by the time of Act 10, I will get to these gems. Now, keep in mind, I've also noted level up gems unless otherwise noted, because some we keep at level 1, some we keep at level 10. At level 10, we have Flame Dash. At level 1, we have Life Taps, because we don't need to level up further, and Flame Dash is just like a waste of int. Now, if you don't like Flame Dash, you can always use regular dash. We can also use Frostblink. That's perfectly fine. Or Mirror Arrow. All of those are good options. However, I have only set 4 link here and 4 link here because 4 links are acceptable in leveling, and later on we are going to go for 5 links and such, and 6 links. Now, when it comes to 1 to 2, which is basically how I mark my stuff, when I mark it with a number 1, that is white maps. When I mark it with number 2, that is yellow maps, unless something else changes there. But I will always mark it up so you can always follow like skills, items, and tree always have the same markup. Now here we have a 5 link I Shot and 6 link I Shot regular. Then you can buy like a regular body armor that is rare and such, so that's perfectly fine. Now, all of these are set there. The only thing that is in white and yellow maps, we disable one aura to enable another one. So we disable Herald of Ice to enable then purity of elements. Now here's one little thing. I've noted precision here. This precision will come from Amulet. I should actually write it down. Amulet. Whatever. If this precision comes from Amulet, actually wait. Precision from Amulet. There you go. Perfect. Now that's sorted. And when it comes to those, that's how it works. Herald of Ice is added later once you can afford Enlighten and such. So that's a little bit of a thing. And I also like to add Purity of Elements as an aura because it really does help later on, especially for those pesky strongboxes. In Ren maps, we add Enlighten, and that's where we have Herald of Ice and Grace. We remove Purity of Elements because we go for Ailment Immunity. I will explain that in a second. And then when you add Enlighten, Enlightens are now cheap for level 3 Corrupted. They're, I think, half a Divine or so. But for red maps, that's perfectly suitable. Now, how much will this build set you in cost? As with always with my 0 to hero builds, they are from literal start 0 to endgame that I achieved with them. So around 20 to 30 divines, depending on where you are in the league, is how much my builds will set you off. But that also includes 20 to 30 to 50 hours of gameplay that you are going to have and get throughout playing the build and upgrading it. Of course, all the upgrade steps are noted, and these are my current gems for like awakened gems and such for the end, which you can add once you have enough currency to do so. That should sort gems out. Now, when it comes to the tree, we start off very simple and we pick up cold conversion as fast as possible, as fast as Act 2, and we carry on going. Now, in Act 5, we are picking up additional point for reservation efficiency, which lowers our mana cost for reserved mana, which is Charisma. And in Act 4, we are doing Mana Mastery. Now, when we go further and further, you are going to see some changes in Act 7. Faustus respecs you for gold. Now, if you go to Faustus and if you click Respecialization, you are going to get offered to respec your character for a bit of gold. The higher you go, the more expensive it is. At level 98, one respec point is costing 24,000 gold to respec, basically. So you can pick that one off and easily do it. In campaign, it's much cheaper, so nothing to worry about there. In Act 7, we respec from the Winter Spirit node down here to Fangs of Frost node, because we are going to go with elemental weapon more than we are going for physical, and we are also having like the added part. You can do this earlier, it's absolutely fine. I found this to be a good point there, because you get like better weapons and such, especially more elemental weapons, and Point Blank will help next. So the next one, we have Point Blank. What does Point Blank do? Projectile attack hits deal up to 30% more damage to targets at the start of their movement, dealing less damage to targets as the projectiles travel farther. This is to 0 bonus damage. This doesn't have a negative, this only has a positive. This is basically our single target damage. Why does this help? You will see throughout the playthrough and throughout the gems that I have two gem setups. One is AoE, which is with 5 arrows, and one is single target, which is Barrage. Now, what do you want to do? Let's imagine this map device is a boss. You stand up to the boss and you just barrage it, and you do the most damage that you could possibly do. Because we have a lot of cold damage, cold penetration, freeze and such, we are going to freeze a lot of bosses, not everything, but a lot of bosses, and that will help with survivability, especially that. But for AoE, you don't really need the extra damage, so you can just like shoot up, and that's perfectly fine, as you can see well from the mapping video. Now, the next part that we are going to go through are our Ascendancy points. Now, for Ascendancy points, let me just put the final tree. For our Ascendancy points, what we go first, we go with Gathering Winds. This gives us Gale Force. Gale Force gives us Tailwind. Well, we also get Tailwind, sorry. Gale Force gives us a different thing. We have your nearby allies have Tailwind, which is increase the action speed by 8%, and 10% increased effect of Tailwind per Gale Force. Gale Force gives us increased effect of Tailwind. Sorry there. And if we have 10 stacks of Gale Force, that means we have 100% increased effect of Tailwind, which means instead of 8% action speed, we get 16. What is action speed? Attack and movement speed. That's the most important thing. 8% attack speed, 8% movement speed. Gale Force, we have that as well. Now, when it comes to Wind Ward, why don't we pick this up? Because we don't need to go to defense route to get less damage taken per Gale Force. Now, Gale Force stacks whenever you do an action, as you can see here, Gale Force, but it also quickly drops down after you're not taking an action for a second or two or so. Next one, we are going for Ricochet. Ricochet means our skills chain +1 times, which means we can get those like additional enemies behind corners and such. And projectiles have 30% chance to be able to chain when colliding with terrain. Also helps us with those tight corridor maps because we can chain off terrain. Keep in mind, we cannot chain if there's not an enemy to chain to, so projectiles are going to look like they are hitting a wall all the time instead of some of them bouncing off the wall. For them to bounce off the wall, we need to have an enemy that is on the other side, other receiving side. So let's say Alva is the enemy, we shoot here, and some arrows are going to bounce off and chain to Alva. Next one, we have Endless Munition skills, fire 2 additional projectiles. I think that's self-explanatory. More projectiles, more fun, more AoE kaboom, and that's basically it. And the last one is Focal Point, which gives us the effect of our marks increased, which basically means whatever mark on hit setup you have, it is going to increase the effect of it. As we have Sniper's Mark. Sniper's Mark gives us cursed enemies increase the damage from projectile hits, which means they take more damage. If this gets also increased the effect from the Focal Point, then that just means it's going to do that much more. This also gives us projectiles which hit cursed enemies split towards 2 additional targets, which is fantastic to AoE clear. Instead of this, if you want to do, you can do Assassin's Mark to give us crit and crit multi. I found Sniper's Mark to be extremely good for AoE, even for single target, because it gives us more projectile damage. Okay, let's go over the items. Items are very simple. In the campaign, you won't need anything too much other than a bow with as much damage that you possibly can get, either physical, either cold. You can even do elemental, it doesn't matter, it's campaign. Then Amulet is important because we want some dexterity, some intelligence. We can get strength from the heavy belt. So you want to fit in what works the best for you. Now for Acts 3 to 10, I have condensed them in one part. I've also colored them, so I hope somebody actually reads these POB notes. What you need, TLDR, you need life, you need resistances, you need stats like strength, int, and you won't probably need dexterity later on. So strength and int are very, very, very important. So that's for Acts 3 to 10. Now, when you get to white maps, for body armor, you can buy a cheap 6-linked body armor that is corrupted from the trade website. If you go to trade, you go with body armor, you choose the colors that you want in links section. Let's say we are working with 3 green, 2 red, 1 blue. So you go 3 green, 2 red, 1 blue, and you press this, and you only want evasion based. Now, how do you do evasion based? You go energy shield 0, armor 0 to maximum, and evasion 1 to minimum, and it is going to sort out the evasion based armors. These are all 6 links. You can use tabula, you can do whatever. You can also do elemental resistances and such. So you do tilde, elemental, pseudo to total. Let's say you want to have 80 elemental resistances, and that's now 20 chaos. These are very cheap, 20, 40 chaos, 40 chaos. These are very cheap to obtain depending on what you want. And with my chaos orb recipe, you can also do that as well easily. After that, you go into Hyrri's Ire. Let's talk about that one in a second. But you first want to get any Ahuana's Bite Quiver, which gives us what? Enemies chilled by your hits have damage taken increased by chill effect. Whichever amount of chill effect we have, that's the amount of damage increase that the enemy will take, which is more damage. Chill enemies is though dealing from, I think it's 50 to 100, 60 to 100% more damage, which means the effect of chill is as if we dealt that much more damage. We don't deal that much more damage. It acts like if we did. So let's say without Ahuana's Bite, you have 10% chill effect, but with it, you now have 20, which means enemies number 1 take 20% more damage, but also the chill effect is higher. So instead of 10, it's 20. So that's for Ahuana's Bite. It's very cheap to start. Now, Hyrri's Truth is the best amulet you can get here, which gives us precision, has 100% increased mana reservation efficiency, which means it costs basically half mana, and it gives us level 30 precision skill. It also gets us some crit strike multi and calling strike, which helps a ton. And you can get any of these. They're like 1 chaos each for any amount. Other than that, when we switch to yellow maps, we have some upgrades. I've only sorted out the upgrades here, which are basically Hyrri's Ire, which is body armor that gives us cold damage, spell suppression, lots of evasion, some dexterity. And I've also written down the guide how to get anything here, like for 5-link, 6-link and such. So please read it. And for Amulet, we can also do Anoint, but I think I did Anoint in the red maps here, in the red map section. Red map section is the most important one because it covers crafting. Now, crafting is not mandatory, but in most cases will save you currency. Keep that in mind. It's not difficult to craft. I have some very easy to follow crafting videos. If you go to my website, heavyheals.com, you go to crafting PoE 1, and you can see here that I have like body armor as an example. You can apply the knowledge for like step-by-step process to same thing. So for all the items, ailment immunity boots, which is covered in the guide here. You can do quiver, elemental quiver. I have like a weapon for bow, although it's a written guide for now, which you can see on the right side of the screen, instead of doing anything else. But they all follow a simple principle, and I will do more of these as long as PoE and League progresses and such. Now, for crafting, I have done everything in notes. I have mentioned that, so please read. For Anoint, we have True Strike, which gives us crit multi, and I've written what oils we need. Now, the only thing that we don't really need to craft is the Stygian Belt, which we just need resistances with, and Abyssal, which we just need resistances to supply stuff. And the final gear is here that I've been using, and this build is tier 17 viable. Now, let me explain the elephant in the room, which are unique jewels. Now, for the unique jewels, for the first one that you want to put in the northern side of the tree, we have Lionized Fall. Lionized Fall is a very cheap jewel that we can get. Later on, we can get the Corrupted Blood immunity from it. It is a few chaos, I think like 8 chaos, 8 to 10 chaos usually. And what it gives us melee and melee weapon type modifiers in radius and transform to bow modifiers. These are that are generally in daggers and claw. They are now transformed to bow modifiers. It looks different in PoB than it does in game. In game, it basically just directly says increased critical strike chance with bows instead of with like daggers and claws. So that is the most important one that you need first. The second unique jewel that you need is Lethal Pride. Now, for Lethal Pride, I have not done what I did before because I want people to actually seek them out, how to find them, which I will link in the description below, how to quickly find a timeless jewel that you need. And you want to buy any Lethal Pride first because we just use it as strength boost. And then later on, you want a Lethal Pride that has damage, double damage, intimidate, and such. If you don't get a Lethal Pride that has intimidate, you can always get intimidate on your gloves from Searing and Eater modifiers. I think it's Eater of Worlds modifier. Or maybe Searing. Could be Searing. One of those two. PoEDB.tw is always your friend. And the third one that we really need is Thread of Hope, which is in Massive Ring. Don't be intimidated by this jewel, even though it does kill off all of our resistances, elemental resistances. It is a very potent jewel, very cheap though, because Massive Ring. Nobody really plays with massive rings. And we are choosing the nodes on the tree. You can easily see when we put the jewel in what nodes we remove. We remove like these 3, so we get other benefits. We remove the life and such. So you can see that all throughout the POB. The last one is tied with Ailment Immunity Boots, which is basically Storm Shroud that helps transform the chance to avoid being shocked into chance to avoid all elemental ailments. And the final note on the build, we have the notes section, my favorite section that unfortunately not too many people read. I have done here very concise crafting guides for the items in the build. If you have any issues or if you have any questions, you can always come by the stream, ask it in the description below. Absolutely. But here's what we need. Deafening Essence of Envy, Anger, Hatred, and Wrath, Zeal, Torment, and Spite. This build will hopefully teach you how to craft some things when you use essences. For crafting, what you need to learn what the fractured base is, you need to learn what essences are and how they work, and then you need to learn how to use Eldritch Currency, Eldritch Ember, Ichor, and Eldritch Chaos Orbs. That's all that you need to learn. It's in the guide here, it's in my videos as well, it's in my crafting guide on the website, it's in my YouTube shorts, so the information is there. But the only 2 things that are left to mention are, for endgame gear, one expensive thing in the gear, well, 2 expensive things. One expensive thing is Ahuana's Bite with Point Blank. Now, this one, when you do Point Blank, it will cost you 2 to 4 divines. If you do like a higher one, it's 4 or 5 divines plus. This helps us remove a passive point here, Point Blank, and remove Fangs of Frost to get the benefit of getting Winter Spirit. This is a 2-way thing. One is we get Ahuana's Bite with Point Blank, of course, so we remove the points there. And 2, we need to get a purely physical bow. Now for Ahuana's Bite and everything, that's a bonus in general, but we need a fully physical bow. There are 2 bows you can get. I have written here in the notes section for the bow itself from White Maps, read bow notes, how you can craft the bow and such. And we will talk about that in just a second. But first, when you go to trading website and when you do the trade, you do a bow, and then what you want is cold local damage and physical. Now, keep in mind, this will also be needed to do. We do not want chaos local. We do not want lightning local, and we do not want fire local. We just want physical and cold. Now you want to do here on weapon filters, you want to write physical DPS, or you can do total damage per second, let's say 800, and it will list the bows that have both physical and cold DPS. That is important. Very important. Actually, I might as well just include this in the POB notes section. Weapon, okay, just to have it. This is for physical and cold. See, I can't remember everything. Physical and cold. This weapon you want to get before you get Ahuana's Bite with Point Blank, because this gives us both physical and cold elements. Now, the more damage you go with, let's say that was 800, that was 1 divine. Let's say 900, that's 1 to 5 to 10 and such. So the more damage you go with, the more expensive the bow is going to be. And now if you also remove cold damage and you put it here, cold damage, local as well, and now you do 900 damage per second, now suddenly the bow becomes way more expensive. Here is the catch. How do you craft a bow that's that expensive that you see, but you can craft it for cheaper? Now, you can buy a ranger bow or some other bow bases. I have covered it here in the text file, which is in the website. So you can do that one. You need Essences of Contempt. These are 52 for 1 divine. And you need a bow with either fractured tier 1 physical or bow with fractured tier 1 physical and accuracy. If you go cheaper, you want to get bow with fractured tier 1 physical and accuracy. I'll put it in the essence bench. And you hit it with Essence of Contempt, and you want an empty prefix modifier, or you want cold damage. So I got tier 5, that's low. Let's carry on until I get like an empty prefix. There we go. Empty prefix modifier. And then what you want to do, well, let's not forget the quality on the bow. What you want to do, crafting bench, increased physical damage. Let's do the trade as well. Increased physical damage, and you pop this one. Poof, you're done. That's for cheap, and that cost us 5 essences. So your mileage may vary on this one, but that one was 5 essences. Now, if you want a bow that does more, that has more damage and such, if you want like all physical modifiers, then you have to continue rolling the bow until you get 3 modifiers that are accuracy physical hybrid, physical flat, and also percent fizz, which is generally easier to roll on a bow that already has physical percent. Why they have the same weight, I have no idea, but that's generally what you want to do. There we go. So that's tier 4. That cost us a few essences. And this is a bow with 697 physical DPS. You want to increase that with like attack, speed, craft, and such, which is completely fine. Or you want to do the can have up to 3 crafted modifiers. Now, to not make this video 7 hours long and then whatnot until I get the crafted stuff, because that can take a bit of time. Sometimes you craft these in 300 essences, which is 5 divines. Sometimes you need 1,000 essences, sometimes 2,000 essences. It's crafting. You can do the cheapest version, which is buy the weapon, and then not worry about it until you can actually get some currency going with Legion, with Breach and such, and selling those. I think just 1 or 2 maps of Legion is enough to get you a divine worth of essences. So 1 to 2 maps, 1 to 2 maps, 1 to 2 maps, and then just play around and craft the thing. Because the end result can be something like this. It can be something that's very expensive. Now, this one didn't sell for 80, but it's selling for less, but it's also 851 physical DPS included with the attack speed. So this can also be something you can do later on down the path. You don't really need to. I got lucky with this one and with this one. I rolled them both in 400 essences or less, but I was doing them to showcase how you can do it. Of course, Spine Bow is the best base. I have everything written here, which is also on my website, to which I will do a video and full-blown written guide over time as I manage to do so. Now, the final notes for the build, as I said in the beginning, pros are it's very fast, clears content, no problemo, does all that you ever want the build to do in mapping, even for cheaper, and it is all arounder a good build. Now, the damage for single target is lower, but that's what you get with a ranger that is going on and doing things and mapping and whatnot. It can clear any content. I also have, well, most of content, right? I also have like some strategies I've used here, so you can use those as well. But overall, that is going to be it for this build guide. Now, this should be a complete build guide. Oh, one more little notice. I forgot to mention Circle of Fear. Get the cold damage while affected by Herald of Ice, and Herald of Ice has increased buff effect. That helps a lot with clear. You can also do a regular ring that has more damage as well. But this was a very, very cheap ring to grab. So you can grab this very cheap ring for no money. So that helps a ton. Otherwise, yeah, I think I'm done. I think I've completed everything. I think I've played this build for a very long time. Like I have like 3 days, 11 hours played on the build. I'm level 98. And I'm sorry that this took a lot of time because just building the POB took a bit because I wanted to do all bells and whistles so you guys have no issues with it. Configuration, I haven't properly set. I think I will set it properly until the video is out, but that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry it took a little bit of time. We're back on track. Next stuff to do are We'll see. If you guys want more crafting videos, do hit me up in the comments below. I will make more crafting videos the more I play. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you did, sub if you don't mind, and I will see you in the next PoE video or stream. Have a good one.